Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Chris, and I'm your host tonight, joined by my good buddy, my friend, the unstoppable, but maybe not so much, Matthew High. Hey, Matt, how you feeling right now? What's the thoughts going through your head? I know you got a lot on your mind. Go ahead.
I think you know exactly how I'm feeling.
I'm aware. I just want you to say to everybody.
Yeah, so I had myself a week. You know, my team, top notch. I made all the right decisions that any sane person would have made, and I went out swinging hard. I got 195 points in our dynasty league. Now, you would think 195 points, you probably won, right? The answer is no. I actually lost to Joe, who scored a 207. So thank you, Jonathan Taylor and Travis Kelce, for being a useless tight end this season. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking him.
No problem. Happy to help. You know, gave you my first in 2027 for him and a couple other pieces. And, yeah, bit me in the butt real bad. I'm going to have to get, like, a rabies shot or something after that one. But, yeah. It was I went through all the fields yesterday. We knew I needed a 20-point lead heading into last night's game with the Cowboys, and had an 8.5-point lead, and I knew at that point it was over because Brandon Aubrey is very, very good. And sadly, my journey ends in our Dynasty League. But for everyone that has lost this week, this is the time where it's fine. You know, it hurts. We're going to spend the next 2 to 3 to maybe 6 months contemplating every start-sit decision we got wrong the entire season. It's just part of the healing process. Just know there's nothing you could do. It's over. It's done with. We learn from it. We get better. And we'll get them next year.
All right. Yeah, well, I mean, once again, condolences, but, you know, you put up a hell of a fight. So you can't be too shameful with that. You know, it left it up to the 50-50 coin toss pretty much of whose players is going to boom more than the other. So
our matchup is going to be better than any final that could happen next week.
Absolutely.
We put up like 403 points between the two of us in the semifinals. So I'm sorry, whoever makes the finals next week, your matchup sucks. It's not going to be ours. So suck it.
Well, moving on here, we have a bit of a combined episode going on tonight. We have our waiver show and our starts and sits. You see, we got a Christmas right around the corner, so we're going to try and combine everything for you guys because we have some Christmas NFL games as well. Try to get all the information pushed out for you guys so that way you can make the best, most informed decisions possible. But before that, we want to start off really quickly with a fun little question that I have gotten a bit actually in my personal leagues. So this regards only redraft leagues and ones that do not have punishments in those leagues at all. Is it okay to bar team managers who are not in playoffs from using the free agency? So to reiterate, right, only the players that have made playoffs, only those managers that have made playoffs are allowed to use the free agency for any player that's there. Matt, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this? My stance is very firm on this. What are your thoughts?
So for me, it really depends. I know you said that there's no incentive at all for, you know, last place or anything. That's what it comes down to me. If there's something where there's a punishment for last place or some sort of structure in the league as far as, you know, if you get this like draft picks, in my opinion, there should not be a ban if that is the case. If it is only 2 players, you're only playing for finals, then all the other teams should not be allowed to use waivers. You know, it's just up to those 2 teams. There should be an honor system. But if you are playing for something, then waivers should be open for everybody.
Hey, see, I'm kind of on your stance, but way, way harder on that ledge there. I say waivers stay open the entire time to all people, no matter what the stance is. Like, if you're playing for nothing, who cares? If everything's on the line, who cares? You know, keep them open. And that's like how it was the entire league. right? Up until that moment of playoffs, keep it moving the whole time. I had a conversation, a little bit of a debate, you could say, with a couple of buddies of mine in a couple of leagues that I'm in over that exact thought process. But hey, now you have our thoughts. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts going into it? Does it depend on the circumstance? Do you care either way? Should it be banned? Should it not be? Like, what's the thought here? Let us know in the comments on Reddit, wherever you want to post it, so that way we can see it.
My only thing with that is it kind of opens it up for potential collusion because, the one team, let's say, we're going to talk about waivers. Let's say you don't have Alvin Kamara and you have someone and they could block, Kendre Miller does well tonight. We're recording this Monday night, by the way.
True.
So if something like that happens and he goes off and everyone's like, all right, I got to get him, that just opens itself up. So that's why I'm kind of on the stance of it really depends. If you're not playing for anything, then just log out. Your season's over. But if there is something to play for, like for example, like in our Dynasty League, I'm going to be playing for third place. There's a cash prize for that. So obviously that would be an instance where I need to do it. But in redraft, similar.
Fair enough. All right. With that being said, that's our question. Like I said, please give us your thoughts on that question as well. But hey, without further ado, let's head right into the show here, starting with the waiver portion. All right, so we got 4 categories here: QB, RB, wide receiver, and tight end. We're going to start at the top at QB. I got 3 to talk about here. I got Anthony Richardson versus the New York Giants. I got Russell Wilson versus Kansas City Chiefs. And I have Mason Rudolph versus the Jags. Matt, my question for you is simple. How do you rank these guys, and who are you gunning for, if anything at all?
The exact order you read them out at. Anthony Richardson versus Giants is an excellent play this week. Russell Wilson. I know the Kansas City defense is pretty good, but the Pittsburgh Steelers, they might get George Pickens back this week. They really can't rush the ball. Najee Harris looked terrible last week, and Jaylen Warren didn't do a whole heck of a lot. So I know that was against the Baltimore Ravens defense, which are very, very good against the run, but they're playing for something. They could potentially, if the Ravens lose and the Steelers win, they can win the division. So it's going to be to the point where at this point, you want teams that are playing for something, and the Steelers are playing for something. Despite the Kansas City Chiefs being the Chiefs, they're very good defense. And Mason Rudolph just gets the Jacksonville Jaguars. We target them every week, it seems. Last week, I know, wasn't the best, but even the Raiders were able to throw a little bit on them. So it's just a good matchup. He looks somewhat competent. He's not great, but he kind of brought that offense into it a little bit. It was kind of just a runaway against the Colts last week, though. But I mean, you got to start with Anthony Richardson. He didn't do a lot last week. He didn't have to do a lot because Jonathan Taylor just went nuclear. But he was still a very effective quarterback, and you saw the reason everyone liked him. Why I liked him is the rushing upside. He tied his season high in rushing last week and scored it on the ground and did enough as a passer where he didn't need to do a whole heck of a lot, but what he did looked pretty good. He passed the ball 11 times, but it's still what came through for fantasy.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I have to agree with you on the rankings here. Definitely Anthony Richardson, Russell Wilson, and Mason Rudolph. Is the order I would go in. I think if I was to start any one of these guys, I'm definitely looking at only Anthony Richardson and Russell Wilson. If I needed to start somebody, I don't want to start Russell Wilson given they have to go up against the Kansas City Chiefs defense and they are, good. All things considered. Hands off to Anthony Richardson. Had a fantastic game last week. I'm sure you were pretty excited about that at the very least. At the end of the day, you have that little slide in on Joe. He might have won the war, but you took a battle at the very least.
It felt like that for a bit. I was very excited. Even got someone to leave a chat after that, which is great. So that's a small victory within the the loss. So, but
all right, we're gonna move on here before we.
I just want to talk really quick though because let's just just because I want to throw it out there, since we're combining the shows, Anthony Richardson against the Giants, or are you playing C.J. Stroud versus Baltimore? Because for me, it's Anthony Richardson over that.
You chose to sit C.J. Stroud, and I believe that burned you because I think he did pretty good last week.
No, Anthony Richardson did better, actually. So I made the right call. They both did good, but
that's true. Yeah, that's
2
true.
points.
Okay.
2 points.
All right.
So
All right. So I'm sorry. You're asking the question of AR versus New York Giants or
Stroud versus Baltimore, who have been very leaky against the quarterbacks and wide
I'm gonna be
receivers,
honest,
but
I think that Tank Dell loss is gonna hurt. I think a lot. I think it's pretty close, which is really really weird to say.
But don't
gonna
worry,
say
they just brought in their savior, Deontay Johnson.
who?
The Texans. They claimed Deontay Johnson.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay?
Don't play Deontay.
No, definitely not. No. Definitely not. But my thought process for this is going to be really, really simple. I want to say Anthony Richardson. It's really hard to not start CJ Stroud considering probably where you drafted him and everything. And that game's going to matter for a lot of different reasons. I'm inclined to go CJ Stroud, but I'm going to say that it's definitely a 55-45 kind of. It might even be closer, to be quite honest with you. But I'm inclined to say CJ Stroud.
Yeah, I'm going AR. If there's one, I know we're not doing starts and sits this week, just because we figured, when we're talking, it's better to kind of give you options because chances are, you could have Lamar, you could have had Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, but for those teams that snuck into the playoffs, like I almost did, this would have been a decision for me this week. So Anthony Richardson is my start of the week if we were doing one. Like I'm planting the flag on him. Giants are terrible against quarterbacks, so just figured we'd throw that out there.
I'm going to move us along here into our running back portion here. I got 3 guys as well in this area. I got Amir Abdullah versus New Orleans Saints. I got Tyjae Spears versus Jacksonville Jaguars. And I have Gus Edwards versus New England. Hey, Matt, same thing. Where are you ranking him? Are you starting any of them?
Tyjae Spears, Gus Edwards, and Amir Abdullah. Tyjae Spears is the only one I would really start. Gus Edwards is a desperation flex. I know he did well last week, but I don't expect that to happen again. I think they're going to have to start winning games with Justin Herbert throwing the ball. And Gus he's just one of those guys, RB3 on your roster, potential flex, but there's a lot of guys I'd rather play. And last week we saw Tyjae Spears do well with Tony Pollard on the field. So I think now that the season's kind of over for them, they're just going to see what they got. They brought in Tony Pollard, paid him money, but Tyjae Spears did this last year. He was really efficient, really good with the ball, even more so than Derrick Henry at points back to 2023. So it was good to see him get a lot of work last week. I think Mason Rudolph and him have a better connection than Tony Pollard does. Plus, is Pollard fully healthy? I think he's still lingering with that injury, and it's going to be one of those situations where it could be a hot hand, and you're just hoping you got the guy that works out. And for me, I think that's Tyjae Spears. Amir Abdullah, I am not playing. I know it's the Saints, and they're really bad against the run, but I am not playing any Raider except for Brock Bowers. And Jacoby Myers is a maybe. That is it. End of list.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think Tyjae is definitely the safest option in this scenario to start by any means. But yeah, no, definitely very shaky at running back. We're going through these waivers, and there's going to be a constant theme of if you really need something like this, put them in, but otherwise stick to what got you to the finals if you're there. But anywho, with that being said, we're going to head to wide receivers. I only got 2 guys to talk about here. Both are, one's really interesting. One's maybe not so much. I have Kayshon Boutte. Is that how you pronounce it? Is that
Kayshon Boutte.
Boutte. Sorry about that. Against the Chargers. And I have Jalen McMillan versus the Carolina Panthers. Matt, I'm gonna be honest. I think I know where you rank them. But are you starting either of
Um, you got probably
them?
not. I
No.
don't
Okay.
think. I don't think there's a situation where you're gonna need to play them this week. I mean, chances are they're probably not on your roster if you're in the finals. I mean, you could have snuck in. I mean, Jalen McMillions, let's get his name right here, has been doing pretty well the
Sorry.
past couple of weeks. You know, Baker and him starting to build a connection ever since Godwin went down to injury. He's kind of stepped up, and I think it's in a good position for for those dynasty managers too. I think if you have him on your roster, you're pretty excited. It really depends. We got to see what's going to go on with this team next year. But Keishon Butte, I really like what I've seen from Drake May, and Butte has kind of been that guy where he hasn't been that good. He's had a really really bad start to his NFL career, and part of that was last year just really bad quarterback play, and rookie this year, and the bar was set kind of low for him, but he still kind of had trouble clearing it. But I mean, last week he did pretty well. I think it's just this week going against the Chargers. I don't want to do that. I really believe in Drake May. I just also believe in the Chargers defense more. They're really good, especially against quarterbacks and wide receivers. So I'm not looking to gamble there. I mean, if you're a gambling man, you can maybe do a DFS play. He's probably a decent shot because he's probably really cheap. I just I wouldn't do it in my finals. Let's just say that.
Huh. Yeah, I definitely trust Jalen McMillions more over Kayshawn. I do like you said it. Yeah, he just hasn't been that good. Really putting it out pretty plainly there. I think Jalen's a slight flex play in my opinion. They are going up against the Panthers, who are really bad at defense. So that's about like that's really like if you have a really bad matchup at your flex and you have no other plausible option, I'm not feeling good about it. But I wouldn't be like it's not like I'm 100% opposed. I'll take advantage of the good matchup of my other guy who's just been average all year is going up against a really tough defense next week.
I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's Baker's looking for him, and this is a team. I mean, Baker's throwing a lot. I mean, they can run the ball with Bucky, but it's still a pass heavy team. So if you're willing to take a shot, I mean, he's had 19 points, 16 points, 14 points the past 3 weeks. So he's getting targets, he's getting receptions, and he's his yardage has been serviceable, over 55 in all 3 games. And with those touchdowns, I mean, 5 for 60 and with a shot of a touchdown, that's wide receiver 2, high end flex play every week.
Can I just say something? If David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs is Sonic and Knuckles the Hedgehogs, could we make Bucky and Rashad White the Winter Soldier, Bucky and Captain America? As well. I think that's fair. I mean, Bucky, it's right there. I mean, the name's there. I think that works. Hey, if NFL, if you need a marketing guy, I'm here. I'll get you in. Yeah, no big deal. I got you. Uh, but anywho,
We'll workshop it.
yeah, we'll get we'll get there. But anywho. On to our last piece of the waiver show here. We got tight ends. I got 3 guys to talk about. I have Hunter Henry going up against the Chargers. I got Dalton Schultz going up against the Baltimore Ravens. And Matt, before I even bother butchering this name here, can you just go ahead and just say it for me, please?
Chig Okonkwo.
Thank you. Going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, same question as before. So these guys might actually be people you start. So, which is kind of crazy. We've talked about Hunter Henry almost every single week on the show. Go ahead, Matt. Rank these guys. Are you starting any of them? Go.
I actually, my answer might surprise people. It's gonna be Chig
Oh,
Okonkwo though. He's my number one guy. Then Hunter Henry and Dalton Schultz. I'm still not really. Dalton Schultz is a play mainly because it's Nico Collins and him with the injury to Tank Dell, they're going to probably design a couple more plays for Dalton Schultz. So in a pinch, you could probably put him in. The Baltimore Ravens defense is susceptible to the passing game, so that's where C.J. Stroud is going to have to go. I don't think Joe Mixon is going to do a lot this week. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's just the odds are against him. And Chigo Okonkwo, the past 2 weeks, has seen 10 or more targets each week. So he's hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but I'm looking at his yardage, about 60 yards, 81 yards. That's really good for a tight end with 8 and 9 receptions. So, I mean, I feel like you couldn't go wrong really with him. So, I'd take the shot. I mean, chances are you had some of these guys. If you had Taysom Hill, and then maybe you picked up Cade Otton, and then he was out last week. You picked up Chig. That's not a bad way to do it. I mean, I would play Chig Okonkwo even if Cade Otton comes back this week. I would still play Chig over him. He was last year going into the season. He was one of my favorite tight ends to draft because I saw the athletic profile. He's shown it on the field. It's just with the never ending carousel of quarterback play, just up and down, left, right. It's just been terrible. So if they can get a good quarterback next year, he's someone you should probably buy in Dynasty, especially. So for Week 17, I'd throw him out there. I think he's going to be doing pretty. I think he's going to do good. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they're not good against the tight end or the wide receiver or the running back or the quarterback. They just, they're good for everybody. Everyone gets in with them.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, especially with Hunter Henry going up against the Chargers. A very, very tough matchup going into next week. I think we both agree that Dalton Schultz is definitely at the bottom of the list. I think I'll agree with you with putting Chig up at the number one there. I think that's probably a good kind of way. I don't think I'd be mad about starting Hunter Henry. I think I'd start both. I mean, if I had them, Hunter Henry or Chig, I think I'm okay with that. I think Hunter Henry, I'm chasing targets, which he's going to get, and I feel okay with that. But with that, go ahead.
There ain't no party like a Jacksonville Jaguars party. So
there we go. That's what I like to see. That's what I like to hear. Anywho, with that being said, that is going to close up for our waiver show, or I guess our waiver section for today's show. My apologies. So let's go right into our starts and sets, shall we?
Sounds good. So I'll bring these up to you because I want to get yours. We already talked about.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, yeah, go for it.
We already talked about Anthony Richardson against the Giants for C.J. Stroud. So.
Oh, sorry. Can I interrupt?
Yeah, go ahead.
My apologies. I know Matt had alluded to it earlier, so make sure we are aware. So we usually do our starts and sits by giving, like, each of us will give a player to start. We figured that in the scenario that we're kind of catering to you guys who are in actual need of, like, you're in a championship or you're fighting for not losing to last place punishment or whatever. We have devised a series of starts versus sits between decisions that you might have. So a player versus a player on your roster, and we are going to decide here who we're going to start and who we're going to sit. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. Matt, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to throw out a couple names because looking at the next week's projections and everything, you could have the scenario of Baker Mayfield, who has been on fire all season long. He gets the Carolina Panthers, which is very, very good for opposing quarterbacks, or Brock Purdy against the Detroit Lions. I think that one could be one of these sneaky games that ends up being somewhat of a shootout. I know right now the 49ers are basically out. They have nothing to really play for. They lost a lot of players, but we kind of saw this with Detroit when they were playing the Jaguars. They don't care. If they're up by 3 scores, they're leaving the starters on the field. They do not care. They're just going to run up the score. So with some of these players, I mean, Brock Purdy wants to get paid, and he's going to get paid. Wouldn't it look a little better to have some of these guys come out swinging hard, be like, see, look what I can do. This is why I should get paid this. So in this situation, are you sticking with Baker, who got you there, or are you making the switch? Because Brock Purdy looked good last week too. They had to throw the ball a little bit more. And I think this could be a recipe for them. Isaac Garendo, I don't know if he's going to play this week. He was out last week. Patrick Taylor was inefficient with the ball. Debo was okay last week. I mean, it's kind of just, there's really not much left, but somehow Kyle Shanahan offenses find a way. They just find a way. So, which side do you lean on?
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that Brock Purdy looked good, and that he is good, but I am not going to not start Baker Mayfield against the Carolina Panthers. I'm putting that on lock. That's an okay thing for me to do. Yeah, no, honestly, easy decision on my part. I mean, he got me there. Um, I have no reason to stop trusting him. Going against a really bad defense. I know the Detroit Lions defense are, pretty banged up, but they still look like threatening to an extent. They're still going to make slashy-ish plays. They're not going to be nearly as good as they were before all the injuries, but they're still going to be decent. So I'll stick with Baker Mayfield in this one.
Just for context, last time they played in at Carolina, Baker he wasn't very good.
That's okay.
He only had about 15 fantasy points in our league, so he was not very good.
I will stay to my guns. I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with, when was that? What week was that?
That was back in week 13, so about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's okay. Fine.
All right. Next guy here, I think we're both Baker on that one. Stafford against the Arizona Cardinals, who were eliminated from playoff contention in wonderful fashion. Chuba Hubbard destroyed them on that touchdown run. Or Tua versus Cleveland. Now, Tua has been kind of hit or miss the past, 2 weeks or so. The Browns just give it up on
that's saying it lightly, I think.
I mean, the Browns have been pretty leaky. They've allowed a lot to quarterbacks and wide receivers. So I think I lean Tua, but it's close for me. I'm curious to see which one you'd prefer to go with.
I lean Tua. Solely because I have a feeling that because the Rams are eliminated, they're going to start the game out there, but I feel like the starters are going to come off pretty early within that game. I have a weird feeling because do not quote me on this because I don't have the contracts in front of me, but I know Stafford's still going to be there, and I know Cooper Kupp is still on contract. I know he's there for a little bit longer. Obviously, they have Puka Nacua. Obviously, Kupp is old. I'm pretty sure Stafford's on there for at least another year. For the sake of preserving their health, I anticipate them not playing a full game, especially if things get out of control. So I'm going to lean Tua here. I will take the safe option, knowing both of them. I think if you're going for a boom or bust option, Stafford is definitely the way to go. But I think if you just need, in my opinion, right, if you're in the finals, your team is probably already looking pretty good. I'm okay with starting Tua. I think I'll take the stable option of good 20 points. I'm okay with that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, Cooper Kupp right now he's a almost $30 million cap hit next year. So I assume they're probably going to end up trying to restructure his deal or trade him in the offseason. So, but we're not talking about that right now. We'll get into those in our
we'll
off-season discussions because there's going to be a lot of changes we got to go through. But yeah, I think I lean to it as well. I mean, Stafford has been pretty good, but I feel like they're not going to be able to run the ball as well on the Dolphins. So I think they're going to have to go to the air. Moving on to running back. This one's a Thursday night football game. I'm going to package those guys together. So for me, this is going to be Ken Walker if he plays. Now, he is dealing with the ankle injury. He might not play at all. So if he doesn't, you can throw Charbonnet into the mix or DeAndre Swift. So one of those, whoever the starting running back on the Seahawks or DeAndre Swift, who has not been bad. It's just been he hasn't been getting the opportunities we saw in the beginning of the season.
Ken Walker or whoever's starting on the Seahawks. I'll say it again. DeAndre Swift is far too streaky for me. And I don't think it's like I said, in this scenario, it's not his fault. It is truthfully volume. It feels like he gets a bunch and then not enough, and I can't deal with that. I don't even want to attempt with it. There are certain players that I am willing to take that chance with, uh, given that their ceiling might be really high, but not for Ken Walker. Sorry, not for DeAndre Swift.
Gotcha. Alrighty. Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Swift, I like, but Charbonnet is. I assume he's going to be the starter. So I think I would start Charbonnet. But if it's Ken Walker, I'm not risking it against Chicago. I will play DeAndre Swift in that instance. Next two guys here, we'll go real quick. Rashad White versus the Panthers. Didn't do the best last week. Had the fumble at the end of the game, but next guy here, Ramondre Stevenson's going up against the Chargers, and if he doesn't score a touchdown, you're very unhappy. So I think Rashad White is in the similar boat, but he gets used heavily in the passing game, and it's just in a better matchup. So are you Rashad White or Ramondre?
Yeah, I'm Rashad White all the way, for all the reasons you just said.
Perfect. All right. Now I want to pick on the Steelers. We're going to do that a little bit here. Najee Harris.
Oh my God! I
Or
just
Jalen Warren.
seen this.
Yeah. Najee Harris or Jalen Warren. Najee only had
I
9
am
carries
so
last
sorry
week.
if any of you guys in the championship have to choose between one of these two running backs. I am so sorry.
He had 9 carries for 42 yards last week.
Who did?
Najee did. Najee.
Oh, goody.
So, what do you think? Jalen Warren outcarried him and outproduced him. He had 12 carries
Can I
for 40,
can I pick
48 yards.
Amir Abdullah?
There's no C option here.
There's no.
No C option. And, I mean, he was utilizing the passing game, and I think they're going to need Jalen Warren this week. I'm leaning Jalen Warren, which is kind of crazy. But Najee just isn't used in the passing game. We saw his rookie year, he was peppered with targets, and then Ben Roethlisberger retired, and so did Najee Harris, apparently.
Yeah, I'll disagree. I'll go Najee Harris. I mean, I hate it. I hate even saying that, but I don't trust Jalen Warren yet. To be honest with you, and I don't trust Najee Harris either. But if I'm taking this coin flip, I'll take the Najee Harris side.
Alrighty, moving on to wide receivers. George Pickens, if he plays, or Jameson Williams against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm on the Pickens side if he plays, but I'd be very nervous. So if you want to be, a little risk adverse, I think Jameson Williams is going to be needed in this game. So I can understand why you might sit George Pickens down. The Chiefs are a very good defense. So
The Chiefs are a very good defense, 100%. My only concern with Jameson Williams is I have no doubt in his ability at all. However, that offense is very, very indomitable. There are plenty of other people that can get the job done, and if they do get a sizable lead at some point in the game, they will start sitting starters. And if Jameson Williams was not part of that reason why they got that far, you might get a little screwed if that's what ends up happening. Maybe.
See, I disagree a little bit. I don't think Dan Campbell's going to be sitting his starters. He doesn't seem
think?
like that kind of coach. I think he's just like, all right, we're doing this all. Let's
See,
just
I think.
go.
Listen, I know when they were losing every single game a couple of years back, and they were out. They were like, I don't care. We're gonna start every game. I have 21 in blackjack, and I say hit. But no, I mean,
Dan Campbell's kind of done that too.
No, trust me, I'm aware.
I love the Lions. They're like my favorite team outside of the Giants.
Besides the
I
point,
want them to win.
I stick with George Pickens because the area of that whole offense kind of like it's a lot smaller, right? There's a lot less pieces going around. If he plays, I feel like that's a safe 13 to 15 points there. I'm okay.
Watch the practice reports because if he doesn't play, then
True.
Obviously it makes it easier. But if he plays, I know some people. I would be kind of terrified just because of it's not fun playing players who are just coming back from injuries. you're always worried, like, okay, one wrong hit and it's done. He's going to goose me. And that's not what you want in the fantasy finals. I've had that happen before and it sucks. I've had a lot of bad things happen in finals. So we'll go over that in the offseason. We'll have a fantasy story time. And we'll just go through all the pain sessions. This is therapy for us. All right, this is therapy for me especially. Next guy here, Jordan Addison against Green Bay, or Keenan Allen versus the Seahawks. Now Keenan has been really good, so you could have two of these guys. Jordan Addison, I traded him away in our dynasty league because he was inconsistent, and I stand by that trade to this day. I know I got kind of the short end of the stick there, but the reason behind it, I stand by. He was too fluky to play in my lineup because he's either giving you 30 points or he's giving you 3. It's the past couple of weeks he's been doing pretty good, so maybe not so much. But look at it. I go back and look at his game logs and tell me if you'd be happy. You're happy every other week.
Thumbs up onto my screen. I definitely do not thumbs up that trade. I'm definitely against that. But besides the point, yeah, I think this is very tough. I think the Packers defense is obviously very, very good. However, they'll probably hone in on the Justin Jefferson angle. You'd have to imagine, right? More than likely. I think both these guys are very solid options, especially with, we've been kind of dishing it out to Caleb Williams this entire season, but he's getting there. You can kind of tell every week, even when he regresses slightly, he's putting the pieces together. Definitely slower than what everyone wanted, but it's happening. So, however, yeah,
I'm going to disagree. I think Caleb.
You hate him.
I don't hate the man, but I just think he hasn't lived up to expectations, and part of that is probably on us for saying, oh well, the number one pick should be good. Trevor Lawrence kind of sucked for a while, and he kind of still does. Look, there's a lot of pressure with the first overall pick. No one wants to get it wrong, and so many fantasy teams and NFL franchises get it wrong. It's part that sucks. But he doesn't look comfortable at all. He makes bad mistakes and puts his team in a terrible position. And then he has to try. He's got traits and talents that are pretty good. But he kind of self-inflicts the wounds. And then has to climb his way back out. If you look in the first half, he usually sucks. And then the last quarter is where most of his production comes from, because it's either you go out and start throwing the ball 100 times, or you just roll over and let the team crush you. So I think Keenan Allen's been really good for him, but what's going to happen with him next year? Keenan Allen is an aging wide receiver. He could fall off next week. I haven't really been too optimistic about what I've seen from Caleb Williams. And I was the low guy on Caleb coming into the year, so this kind of just reaffirms some of the things that I noticed during the scouting process, that he might not be that guy. And we might have to realize that. Yeah. It's going to be hard, but
I just want to say before we go on next, my choice is Jordan Addison. Personally, in the matchup, I do want to say, I believe it was Tom Brady that had said this a month or two ago. I think it really holds true. Nowadays, when people go to college, before there was programs, and part of the programs, was plays, and because the spotlight wasn't on college too much, it was always to prepare you for the league, because that's really all that should have mattered at the time. But now with everything kind of in college, the spotlight is there. It's very popular. So in certain areas, more popular than the actual league itself, the NFL, and with the NIL kind of running through as well, it kind of changes the dynamic where instead of preparing you for the league, you're now trying to be competitive in college, where there's such a bigger, diverse player pool. So of course, the competition is going to be so much worse than it is in the league, and it's weird. I understood. It's college doesn't prepare you anymore for the league when you're going to play football there. It's a very different dynamic. Before it did, and also back then, especially in the quarterback position, most probably wouldn't immediately start when they got drafted. Most would sit behind someone, but now we have a lot of people getting thrusted into the position. But I digress. I'm going to shut up now so we can get along with our show here.
Yeah, just for argument's sake, Addison's my pick too. Moving on to tight end. This one hurts me because I could have had this decision and I have things to say, but I'm going to let you go first. Travis Kelce versus the Steelers or Hunter Henry versus the
Hunter
Steelers?
Henry.
Yeah.
There is no competition. Hunter Henry. That's the answer. Sorry, guys.
What hurts me, what I think I'm at the point where there's not a single Chief I'm confident about. I thought it was going to be Pacheco, but in the beginning of the season, yes. Then he got injured. Now it's not. You can't play him. We thought Kareem Hunt was good for a bit. Well, Pacheco came back and basically took it over, and then it's going to be you're playing ping pong with those guys. There's not a single wide receiver I'm comfortable playing. Juju is a ghost. We saw Hollywood come back last week and get a bunch of targets, and Xavier Worthy's starting to pick up, but inconsistent. Patrick Mahomes is injured. You can't play him in fantasy. He's been terrible this season. He's come on a little bit as of late, but and then now we have Travis Kelce, who what happened? I don't know. Noah Gray showed up, and all of a sudden it's we don't need you, Travis. Go sit down. He's just completely uninvolved. It seems like every other target is going to someone else, and it used to be third down, long, third down is short. You're looking for Travis Kelce, and now it's maybe he'll get a touch. He's been held under 50 yards the past 3 games. How?
This is I know this is a bit of a comparison, but this is kind of what happened to Gronk when he went to the Buccaneers. Obviously got utilized a lot when he was the Patriots with Tom Brady, and then he went over to the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, and it's kind of the same mentality. He's playing the game just like he's still good. He's still doing what a tight end should do, just not offensive anymore. He's doing the blocks. He's being more of a role player on a different kind of end, and it's unfortunate for us as fantasy managers. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Robert Gronkowski kind of came in there, and he was pretty honest with saying, I don't care what happens, I will do what I need to do to win. If you want me to block every single play, I will block every single play. And that seems to be what Travis Kelce is slotting into right now. I don't know why. Maybe waning in physical ability, trying to new things so that way offenses don't catch up. I'm not sure what the whole thought process is here, but yeah, that seems to be what I'm noticing with Travis Kelce.
He has 8 games on the season under 50 yards. That's 8. Under 50 yards.
2 years ago, that'd be unheard of.
Yeah. 8 50 yards is per quarter a couple years ago. This is why aging tight ends really worry me, because you either hit and they're good for a while until they're not. I mean, this is kind of like the running backs where they're good until they're not. It's just they fall off a cliff. And I think
especially when you prop up one like this, we've only really had at most 3 at a time that we're we love tight ends. I mean, in this era, it's been Mark Andrews, the Travis Kelce, and the George Kittle, right? Those 3 guys have been kind of our cornerstone for the last, 3-4 years now of play, and they're kind of starting to wane out a bit. So it's definitely, especially Travis Kelce. Mark Andrews and George Kittle continue to do fun things, but not Kelce, who's I believe, oldest of the 3 of them that I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 touchdowns on the season.
Yeah, it's not great.
He used to score 2 touchdowns per game, not per season.
Anywho, enough bashing on the Chiefs.
Yeah. And then Jonnu Smith versus Cleveland or Mark Andrews. This could be a decision you had, because you could have picked up Jonnu off waivers a couple weeks ago, and I think this is a pretty close decision for me. I think...
No, it is for me, too. This is tough, I'm going to be honest.
I'm going to go Mark Andrews just because I think that offense is really humming. And I think he's got a better shot for a touchdown, but, I mean, not by much. I mean, you're
I
talking.
mean, Isaiah Likely's there. He's kind
Yeah,
of a touchdown magnet too.
you're talking. Two probably top 5 tight ends this week. But which one do you think has the best potential to deliver?
It's kind of tough. I thought I
I
had enough
lean
time thinking.
Andrews.
I know. Yeah. Oh man. I'll lean Andrews as well. I think I like him more. I'll give it the hope. Even if he doesn't score a touchdown, I think he's utilized enough to where it's okay.
Alrighty, moving on to DSTs.
Defense, let's go.
I think these are pretty good plays this week. There's a couple good defenses. Miami versus Cleveland. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, not very good at football. That offense looks pretty bad. Even if Jameis somehow makes his way onto the field, he likes to throw pick sixes and a bunch of interceptions. So no matter who the quarterback is, you're pretty safe there. Or Tampa Bay versus Carolina. Bryce Young seems to be taking another step back. We looked pretty good for a little bit until it wasn't. So Tampa, not the best against quarterbacks and wide receivers, but I think a struggling Carolina Panthers with only Adam Thielen catching the football. I think you're probably in a good spot playing the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I'm gonna be. I mean, he had a fantastic week last week, against the Cardinals. Bryce Young, I'm talking about. I think I'm gonna side Miami here. I think Bryce Young is slowly finding this groove with this team with the limited options that he has. And I know they don't have a lot of targets, especially now that they got rid of Jonathan Mingo, a player that Jerry Jones has been looking at since college, and he was very excited to trade for, and that has definitely helped his team 100%. I'm talking to you, Jerry Jones. That's right, you suck. Moving on. But yeah, I think my choice is the Miami defense. Sorry, I'm a Giants fan. I don't like him. So anytime I get a chance to kind of say he's stupid, I'll do it.
Yeah, well, a lot of times it's true. So, next grouping here, I want to talk about the Indianapolis Colts versus the Giants. Self-explanatory. Or Seattle versus Chicago. Like we were talking about, Caleb Williams, he gives up sacks, he gives up interceptions, fumbles. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with the Bears. So I know Seattle doesn't have the best defense, but I think their floor this week is pretty safe. I think they're probably going to get 4 to 5 sacks on the Bears, most likely.
Yeah, I got the Colts. I think on the off chance that Caleb Williams has a good game, I know the Giants won't. So I'll take that bet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito, Tim Boyle.
Nope.
The Water Boy.
They proved that last week throwing like 2 pick sixes or whatever.
Yeah.
For the Falcons or whatever ludicrous happened. Yeah. No, I'm good.
Hey, we have the first overall pick right now.
We do. I can't wait to mess that one up.
Yeah. I hope we trade out of it. Give someone else the first one so we can just choose whatever. Because first overall pick has been pretty bad.
We could pull a Bears and get like a lot for the first overall pick, and rebuild over multiple seasons. That'd be fun.
And still be rebuilding.
Of course.
Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, I'm hoping we trade for Justin Fields in this offseason.
That'd be fun.
And then go for someone else in 2026. Get a haul, get some random player, and I think it'll be better. But anywho, let's jump out of here. So good luck, everyone, with your Week 17 championship games. As a reminder, we are not going anywhere. We are going to be here for every step of the way. We're going to be talking everything through the offseason, so please consider joining the show. You can follow us along on our X account. At the Heroes FF. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the follow, subscribe, and click the bell. You'll get notified when we have new stuff coming out. We have some exciting things that we're working through right now. We will have some updates for everyone shortly as those are ready to be rolled out. So I think that's it. Anything to say to the listeners other than thank you very much?
Thank you, guys. Have a happy holidays. We did all this on Monday, to kind of avoid doing this on Christmas Day. But yeah, we hope that you guys have an amazing time and that you enjoy the great football that we're going to witness on that day. And, I have nothing else to add.
And when you lose, if you lose, we will be here to console you.
Oh,
Again,
no,
therapy
I'm
sessions.
sorry. I'm sorry. I do have one more thing. I do. For the final time this season, good luck to all of you. Unless, of course, you're facing me. In that case, I hope you lose horribly.
All right, everyone. Good luck in your week 17. We will be back shortly. So long.
See ya.
Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Heroes of Fantasy Football podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TheHeroesFF.